G'day legends, welcome back to the weekly breakout. I'm Mick Vitar, Michael's shiny digital twin, minding the shop while the original Michael's probably out there trying to teach a kangaroo how to use a surfboard, or maybe just attempting to parallel park his ego in a tiny Sydney laneway. Either way, the bloke's off-grid living his best chaotic life. So lucky for you lot, the avatar's in charge and I've got zero coffee spills to worry about. Quick disclaimer, this video is for education and entertainment only. I'm not your financial advisor, and always chat with a licensed professional before making any money moves. Let's break it out. Alright legends, today we're diving into one of the hottest and most frustrating topics in Australia right now, the massive and growing gap between incomes and property prices. In 2026, owning a home feels like it's slipping further out of reach for everyday Aussies, and the data backs it up big time. We're talking record unaffordability, and it's not just hype. It's hitting families, first home buyers, and even some investors hard. Let's start with the numbers. Recent data shows Australia's median household income hovering around the $95,000 to $104,000 mark annually. Think full-time workers pulling in roughly $90,000 median, with households combining to about that ballpark after taxes and adjustments. That's solid money, right? But now look at property. National median house prices have surged past $1 million in many capitals, with combined capital city medians hitting around $1.1 million to $1.3 million, depending on the report. Even nationally, dwelling values are pushing towards or beyond $860,000 to $1 million in key metrics. The killer stat, the house price to income ratio, basically how many years of household income it takes to buy the average home, has blown out to around 8 to 10 times or more in major cities. Back in the day, say 40 years ago, it was closer to 3 to 4 times. Now, we're at levels where it's more than double that in places like Sydney, median houses well over $1.5 million, and pushing hard in Brisbane, Melbourne and others. Finder analysis nailed it. From 3.3 times income historically to over 10 times now for city homes. That's not progress, that's a crisis. Why is this gap widening so fast in 2026? Here are the main culprits. 1. Chronic housing shortage and undersupply. Australia simply isn't building enough homes. Despite targets like the Housing Accord aiming for 1.2 million new dwellings by 2029, approvals and construction are lagging, sometimes 20% behind schedule. Population growth from migration keeps pouring in, but the supply pipeline is choked by planning delays, workforce shortages, skyrocketing construction costs, still elevated post-pandemic, and land prices exploding over 500% since 2000, according to some reports. Demand outstrips supply, classic recipe for prices to keep climbing. 2. Property prices rising faster than incomes. House values jumped around 8-9% in 25 alone in many areas, with forecasts for 2026 calling for another 5 to 7.7% nationally. KPMG's take, and even higher in spots like Perth, 12% plus, Brisbane 10% plus, and Adelaide. Incomes, they're growing, but nowhere near that pace. Maybe 3 to 4% annually at best, so the gap widens every year. 3. Interest rates and borrowing pressures. The RBA cash rate sits at 3.85% after a recent hike, with talk of more if inflation sticks around. Higher rates mean bigger mortgage repayments, tighter serviceability tests, that pesky 3% buffer, and less borrowing power, even if prices only rise moderately. Add cost of living squeezes, and many buyers are priced out or forced to wait, but that doesn't stop prices from marching up in high-demand areas. 4. Structural issues piling on. Restrictive planning laws block development where people want to live, inner to middle rings, high taxes to charges on new builds inflate costs, and policies sometimes fuel demand, like low deposit schemes, without fixing supply. It's creating a two-speed market. Those with equity, family help, or high incomes can still jump in, while younger Aussies and average earners get locked into renting longer. The result? Home ownership rates are dropping for under 40s, deposit saving times stretch to 10 to 12 years nationally, and we're seeing warnings of a growing rental generation, sub $500,000, homes are vanishing, $500 to $750,000 are next, and affordability is at record lows per reports like Cotalities, Legends. This isn't doom and gloom for the sake of it, it's the reality check we need. Property's still a powerhouse asset for those who can get in, but the ladder's getting steeper. If you're watching this thinking about investing or buying, focus on location, cash flow, and long-term plays, but get professional advice first. What do you reckon? Is the dream still alive, or are we heading for bigger changes? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like if this hit home, subscribe for more breakdowns, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay sharp, stack smart, and let's break it out. Mick Vitar signing off.